What's up? Welcome back to my channel. Vladi B here. Today I want to talk to you about why you should not buy a house just yet. Wait for it a little bit longer. And this is why. What's happening right now is the housing prices is blowing up like crazy. This is a seller's market. For sure, anyone will tell you it has been the seller's market all throughout 2020 up until now. For the last almost 2 years, it's been the seller's market, which means if you're a buyer, you're going to be paying premium. You're going to be paying more than you would have paid 2 years ago or even before that. So if you thought the prices of the houses were too high 2-3 years ago, well, you're probably regretting not buying it back then, because now you could have probably sold for much more, sometimes even double the price from what you bought 2 years ago. A lot of houses went up double and even triple in price, depending on the area and of course location, size of the house, condition, year built, etc. But that's not it. Although the housing prices was going up steady like crazy, blowing up, the rates, the interest rate were extremely low. They were at the record lows, between 1.5% to 3% to be exact. That of course kind of balanced out the high prices of the houses with the low rate. Eventually you're still paying around the same amount, right, give or take. But what's happening right now in particular is that the rates started going up like crazy on top of the crazy house prices already as it is. So if you were hoping to pay $2,000 to $2,500 a month in mortgage payments, well, now with the interest rate at about 6% and more, and some people are even thinking that it's going to go up as high as 9% towards the end of the year, you're looking at the same house, same price house, you will be paying $3,000 and even $3,500 a month for a mortgage. This is a guess like anything else out there. This is not a financial advice by any means, but if you think historically, it can't continue going up like crazy forever. It has to crash at some point, it has to go down. It may not be the housing market crash, but it's going to be some type of crash that's going to bring the prices down, because who can afford all that? Only some people out there who are still able to pay in cash. Who knows where they're getting their money out of, but they're able to pay in cash. They come from places, maybe for example, people from California are selling their houses for crazy expensive. The tiny house is going to be worth $500 and even $700,000 or $800,000. And then they come to a place like Las Vegas where houses used to cost $300,000 and $400,000 for a really nice house. And of course they're going to be able to pay in cash and still have a bunch of money left over. But what's happening now is if you're trying to get a mortgage, unless you're able to pay in cash, you're going to be paying a ton of money in interest. And that's almost not worth it, because even back then with the low rate, over the term of over a 30-year term, you're still buying 2 houses. Right? You're buying 1 house at the price of 2 houses. That's what was happening. And if the interest rates are as high as 9%, you're going to be buying 3. You're going to be paying for 3 houses, but only getting 1. So it's almost not worth it. With that being said, there are a few things that you have to keep in mind. It all depends on your situation. I say we have to wait as long as possible to see what exactly is going to be happening, because it might go down significantly. Right? Because right now the price is outrageous. So by them bringing the rates so high up, it's going to eventually drive the prices down a little bit. So it's still going to balance itself out. So here's the thing. If you are thinking whether you should rent or buy a house, buying is always better, because if you're paying rent, that money is going to go away forever. You'll never get that money back. But if you're paying for a mortgage, you will eventually be able to resell that house, as long as you're in a house long term and you can survive a crash. Even if the house market goes down and your house, let's say you bought a house for $500,000 and suddenly this house is worth $300,000. Unless you sell right there and then, or leave, or declare bankruptcy or foreclose the house, you will wait for a few years and it will go back up to $500,000. Who knows how long? 5-10 years, it might go back up to that level again. But what you will be able to do meanwhile is you'll be able to refinance whenever the rate's gonna go low again. You'll be able to refinance and pay lower monthly fees for your mortgage. But at the same time, you'll be paying money for something that's your asset. It's almost like putting money aside. Eventually you're building up that equity, and then you'll be able to pull that equity out of the house. You'll be able to refinance and use the equity of that home to buy another home, your second home, which could be a rental. Or you can turn your first one into a rental and move into the next house, a better house. All those options are available only if you already own a house, as in you own a mortgage and you're paying that mortgage. If you are renting a place, that money is gone forever. If you're paying $1,000 a month, good for you. If you're paying $2,000, which is about average rent right now, then unfortunately that money is gone forever. So that same $2,000 maybe add a couple extra hundred and you could have been paying for your own mortgage. Of course, it's easier said than done because you have to qualify for a mortgage and you have to have a stable income in order for you to get that mortgage. But as long as you can do that, it's definitely much better, it's worth it over renting a place. So this is what I think. If you have no choice but to either rent or buy, definitely buy, because you're still going to be putting that money away, but be prepared to be paying way higher mortgage, monthly mortgage payments than if you were to buy a couple months ago when the rates were still kind of low compared to right now, 3% and 4%, a bit lower. Versus 6 and 7 that we are seeing right now, and even 9 that we are going to see eventually in the near future. But if you're living with family, or if you're living in a place where your rent is extremely low and you can afford waiting a little bit, let's say you're paying $500, you're sharing a place, you will of course never find a mortgage that's that cheap. So that way you can actually save up some money, right? Instead of paying a $2,000 rent, you're paying $500. So that $1,500, put it aside so that whenever the housing market goes down a little bit, tames down and becomes more reasonable, you will be able to put that money, you'll be able to save up for a down payment. I have spoken to multiple people about this subject, people that have been around way longer than I have, people that are 60 and 70, and they've seen a bunch of those crashes. They keep telling me that this keeps happening every few years. There is no way around it. This is just how the economy goes. The most important thing is to hope that the dollar itself doesn't collapse and doesn't crash and goes away, because if the dollar is worth nothing and you have some kind of savings in your bank account, then you are there. For all of us, there is no hope, because it happened in many places, in many countries it happened, and a lot of people are saying that this is the direction in which United States is going, and if that happens, it's going to be really, really brutal. It's going to be really tough times. And for this case, in case this happens, it's really good to try to diversify a little bit. So of course, if you have your money sitting in stocks, those stocks are still going to be worth something, right? As long as these companies still exist, those stocks will be worth something. If you own cryptocurrency, hopefully that crypto that you own, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that that are not joke and meme coins, actual legitimate cryptocurrency, if you own some of that, even if it's a little bit low right now, you hold it, eventually it's going to go up. If the dollar collapses and you have some cryptocurrency, it still has that value. So whatever that new currency is going to be, or whatever happens, you will still be able to sell that. Even if you go to another place, another country, and you sell it for their money, for their currency, let's say if you go to Canada and you sell that cryptocurrency for Canadian dollar, as long as that still exists by then, or you go to Europe and you sell it for euros, you'll still be able to do all those things. You'll be able to trade it somehow. You'll be able to buy NFTs, trade them that way. There's essentially a lot of opportunity out there and a lot of ways to protect your money. So the worst way to protect your money is to hold it in your bank account, of course, because that way, if something happens and it just devalues, or the dollar is worth nothing, you didn't protect it. It's just sitting there and it's going to be worth nothing. And for that case, it's also better to have a house, because in that case, of course, although you're paying a mortgage, at least you have some kind of an asset where you'll be able to sell it for something, exchange it for something, or at least have a roof over your head. It's at the very least something that is a necessity for us. Leave your comments below on your thoughts of what's going to happen to the economy, what's going to happen to the housing market, what's going to happen to the interest rate, etc. And also don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel to see more quality content, and I will see you in another video.